India's electric vehicle revolution is no longer a distant dream. Yes, the EV story is picking up serious momentum. From just 0.7% of motor vehicle sales in 2020 to over 6% in 2024. In fact, in 2024, the EV penetration had reached 7.8%. EV adoption has clearly shifted gears. Nearly 5 million electric vehicles are now on Indian roads. In FY25 alone, we saw over 2 million electric vehicle sales. That's right, the Indian government has set an ambitious goal to make 30% of all passenger vehicle sales electric by 2030. This is an important goal that the Indian government has. It has also provided policy support in the form of the FAME scheme, and now you have the 10,900 crore rupee PM E-Drive scheme to boost domestic electric vehicle adoption and manufacturing. India is also eyeing a larger role in the global mobility race. From sealing major FTAs like the one with the United Kingdom to negotiating tariff deals and tariff reduction agreements with the United States to enhance market access. Hello and welcome. I'm Parikshit Luthra, and you're joining us in our brand new series, our show called Charging Up India's EV Journey, where we put the spotlight on where we are in India's journey right now, how do we compare to global examples, and what more does India need to do in terms of reaching its 2030 goals. Joining us is Pawan Goenka, an industry veteran. He is the former managing director of the Mahindra Group, former president of the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers. He spent 3 decades at the Mahindra Group. Thank you very much, Dr. Goenka, for joining us. Let me begin by asking you about where we are in our EV story right now, 7.8%. Do you think more could have happened? And where can we realistically reach by 2030? The reason why I ask you this question, because China today is already at 25%, Europe is at 15.5%, US is at 8%. And by 2035, we're expecting China to reach 52% EV penetration.
Thank you, Parikshit, for having me on this show. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, whether it's a space or automotive. And as you know, that I have been sort of an EV proponent for the longest time, starting in 2010. So it's been 15 years that I have been watching the EV story evolve in India. And I think now we can confidently say that we are in the fast lane. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Yes, of course, there are some hiccups like the rare earth metal situation that we have right now. But leaving that aside, we are definitely in the fast lane now. If you look at the first quarter, and as you have talked about in the preamble to the show, we have now reached a penetration of more than 4% in the passenger vehicle segment. Three-wheelers have always been doing very well, more than 60%. Two-wheelers are also grown quite rapidly now, reaching a high single-digit percentage. So overall, I think the momentum is picking up, and there are several reasons for that we'll talk about. But yes, today I feel very positive that the Indian EV movement, though it took a long time, much longer than anyone had anticipated, certainly much longer than I had anticipated, but now I think we're getting there.
Right. How do you feel about the India-UK FTA? Automobiles, for the first time, the tariff there has been reduced by the Indian government, but not immediately. It's going to happen in a graded manner over a 10-year period. You have quotas for ICE vehicles, especially luxury vehicles, high-capacity engines, and also for EVs only after 6 years of the free trade agreement, and that too, electric vehicles which cost upwards of £40,000 and £80,000. So do you feel that this also gives enough time to the domestic EV industry, homegrown EV makers like Tata Motors, the Mahindra Group, Maruti Suzuki, all of them, time to grow their domestic footprint?
See, I have not read the fine print on the UK FTA, but clearly the first time ever that Indian government has given relaxation on import duty for CBO import of any kind of vehicles, coming down to 10% at a point of time. In fact, there are two events that have happened lately. One is the FTA signing that happened yesterday, and second is the launch of Tesla Model Y that happened last week. And both of these events will have a positive impact on the EV movement in India, and we can talk about that. But I don't think that the homegrown manufacturers need to be too concerned about it. If anything, it's going to be a positive rub-off. Because it's going to bring in more awareness and more visibility to electric vehicles. And when people start realizing how far the Mahindras and Tatas have come in electric vehicle technology and the product and the aesthetics of the vehicle, they would perhaps be looking at these vehicles even more. And if I see what is coming out in the last 6 months, I think 5 new models have been launched in the 6 months. And the 3 companies, India, Tata, Mahindra, and MG, have, I think, 95% of the total passenger vehicle market share in electric vehicles, and for a reason. They are putting out products, very good products that the consumers are liking. And there are many other reasons also why consumers are now taking to the EVs. I would say 2 of those, which have been concerned for longest time, and something that I have talked about several times in the past. Number one, the range anxiety. And now getting 500-kilometer range is a breeze. Everyone is offering that range. I have traveled in my electric vehicle from Mumbai to Pune and back without having to worry about recharging on the way. Second is the lifetime warranty that some of the makers are offering on the battery, which takes away a concern as to what will happen when I have to replace the battery. And third is number of models that are coming out. And none of these models are compromised in any way, shape, or form. They're as good as ICE engine model in terms of features, the looks, the digital technology that's gone into them. And since the time I bought my EV, I have not gotten into any other car.
Right. But Dr. Goenka, don't you also believe that while we are chasing a domestic market share, shouldn't we also be targeting EV exports, considering electric vehicles are at still a nascent stage in the world? EV adoption is still lower compared to ICE in most geographies, except for China and Norway for that matter. Don't you think India should be leveraging the export opportunity? What's really the hurdle when it comes to growing our export footprint of future vehicles, futuristic vehicles, electric vehicles for that matter?
Parikshit, see, everything has the right time. And if you start trying to export before we're ready, we will fail and then we may not be able to recover. If we look at where we were 2 years ago in terms of products that were available in India, I would not say those were export-worthy products for export market. Just like for ICE engine vehicles, if we were to go back 10 years ago, we didn't have export-worthy products in India. Now we do. Now we can go to any country with the products that we make in ICE engine in India and compete anywhere. Same thing will be happening in electric vehicle, is beginning to happen now. The models that have been launched in the last 3-4 months from Mahindra, from Tata, from MG for that matter, and of course all the others which are basically coming as a CBU or some SKD form. These are models that can easily be exported. And I'm sure that the companies now will be looking at how to start exporting. But right now, I think the focus is to build the domestic market. And until we have a scale in the domestic market, just to make few vehicles for exporting to few countries will not be business-wise viable. So I think they're doing the right thing by first getting out the right products at the right price with the right range. Range is very important for electric vehicle. Getting a scale, getting the cost in check, and then start exporting. So export would definitely happen. I don't know what the numbers of export today are. Exports will definitely happen, but I'm not going to be too much in a hurry to start jumping onto the export bandwagon. And I would like to see the domestic situation come fully under control. The domestic customers become very comfortable with electric vehicles, which is beginning to happen. And then we can export in a big way. The products that are coming out right now,
I would
extremely well in export.
All right. I would also like to ask you about this debate between electric vehicles and hybrids. Now, the industry is divided over it. Many believe that hybrids will eventually help us reach our carbon emission goals. Some believe electric vehicles are the right way. Do you believe that government should be supporting both technologies, or we should be only focused on electric vehicles?
Well, Parikshit, my view in this has not changed in the last 10 years. I will say the same thing. If you check my interview 10 years ago on whichever channel or publication, I would have said the same thing 10 years ago. Hybrid, the reason we are looking at electric vehicle in India are twofold. Number one, to reduce our dependence on imported oil. And number two, to make our cities clean in terms of tailpipe emission. Electric vehicle do both of them because zero oil import and zero tailpipe emission. Hybrids are not a solution that give us a perfect 0-0. Thus, they improve on the petrol consumption, but they do not make it anywhere near zero. Therefore, I do not see the hybrid vehicles, even strong hybrids, as the solution to the problem that we're trying to solve. Of course, they're better than non-hybrid. There's no doubt about it, okay? But they're not solving the problem that we're trying to solve. To some extent, plug-in hybrids do. And I'm beginning to look at plug-in hybrids as a potential sort of parallel solution, parallel to electric vehicles, but not strong hybrids because they don't solve that problem. So the way I would like to see things progress is that IC engine vehicles should mature to hybrid vehicles and not remain just simply non-hybrid IC engine. But the government thrust has to be for supporting electric vehicles and perhaps plug-in hybrid vehicles with enough guardrails defined so that plug-in hybrids do not become a backdoor entry for a strong hybrid. That has been my view 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, and today.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Goenka, for joining us with your views as an industry veteran, telling us about where we are in our EV journey and what will it take for India to be a leader in electric vehicles as well. We're taking a short break, but don't go anywhere. When we return, we will be joined by industry stalwarts to discuss what kind of supply chain readiness does India need to show, especially in light of restrictions on rare earth magnets. We've seen shortage of semiconductors post-COVID-19, so the supply chain can be disrupted anytime. How should we be future ready? We'll be right back. Welcome back. Despite the growing adoption, the industry is going through a lot of challenges in terms of supply chains. We have seen how restrictions on rare earth magnets by China have really disrupted electric vehicle production, and some automakers are actually staring at production stops in the month of August. So how does India overcome these challenges in the long term? How do we build up Atmanirbharta? Let me now go across to our special panel of industry stalwarts. We've got Nishant Arya with us. We've got Rajeev Chaba, and Anindya Deb is also joining us. Let me go across to Nishant Arya first. Nishant, thank you very much for being with us. What's the kind of disruption you're seeing because of this supply chain issue related to rare earth magnets, and how are you overcoming this?
So we had been working with our suppliers actually even after COVID to really see that how could we de-risk our supply chains and have more resilient supply chains where we were sourcing from different countries. So we had been able to address this problem in a bigger manner than what we had envisaged, where we were sourcing from multiple regions in Asia initially.
Right, and we are getting some positive noises when it comes to the Ministry of External Affairs after the meeting between Subramaniam Jaishankar and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Beijing on the 14th of this month. Rajeev Chaba, if I can come to you, what would be your view on this? Is this now an opportunity for India, the automotive industry, to get stronger? It is a moment of reckoning, of course, for many with these disruptions due to rare earth magnets.
I think so. You know, in fact, we had a meeting with the minister and other relevant authorities a few weeks back in which we talked exactly on the same issue and said that in short term, in the next few months, we may have a problem. But if suppose we handle this issue from long-term perspective, definitely as a country, as an industry, we are going to be in a stronger position. So yeah, there is a threat at this point of time for short-term production halts. But in the long run, I think it provides us a very good opportunity.
Right. Anindya Deb, what do you believe that India now needs to do in order to be more self-reliant when it comes to electric vehicles and have a domestic supply chain? What all do we need to focus on, according to you?
Yes. So actually, I would say that some efforts are already going on in this direction to find alternatives to this, say, permanent magnet-based motors. And but I feel that economy and profitability. So these things tend to drive a lot, industrial considerations. On the other hand, these things take a little bit of more time when we try to develop things on our own. But one very positive thing that I have seen in the recent past is that startups are actually trying to develop motors such as switched reluctance motors and then synchronous reluctance motors. So these are the motors where actually you do not need these rare earth type materials at all because they don't have permanent magnets. On the other hand, these need to be nurtured more. These need to be tested, tried out, and then they have to be actually put in the vehicles for trial. So here I feel that these smaller companies which are actually more savvy towards trying out new things and are willing to take more risks should be supported, and they should work. Government is already supporting them, but then investors and others should also rise to the occasion, and they have to work in conjunction with the OEMs to make these things a reality. And even there are other types of conventional motors such as the three-phase induction motors and AC synchronous motors. So people have almost like written them off just because they are somewhat less efficient as compared to the motors that we are actually using today, driven by foreign countries like China, for example. So I think we have to work very hard, and we have to put a lot of efforts ourselves to come up with technologies, grassroots technologies of our own. And then I'm sure we have all the talent, we have all the resources. We have to just work together and make this happen. And I'm sure that it will happen because now there is a lot of energy and a lot of motivation that has been created by the various initiatives that the government has launched. And also we are seeing companies such as Mahindra and Mahindra, Tata Motors, etc. So they have already shown that our electric vehicles can do very well. And another thing that I would like to point out to you here is the growth that is being propelled by the two-wheeler and three-wheeler segments. So we have actually in 2024, more than 2 million vehicles electric vehicles were sold in India. And much of this has been due to these electric two-wheelers and three-wheelers. So in combination, they have actually accounted for more than 1.5 million sales of electric vehicles. So we have to actually also concentrate, in my opinion, on affordable, compact four-wheelers. And that I feel is lacking currently, and which is kind of stifling our, adoption of more electric vehicles in the Indian market. And this is one thing that, again, I was seeing, and while I was comparing with some data, globally, and I was very surprised to see that in China, they are having electric vehicles which are much less costlier as compared to ICE-based vehicles. So I think that is also another great opportunity.
Right.
So our established OEMs can do a great job, I think, because we had in the past vehicles like, say, Mahindra E2O, Reva, Mahindra Bijli. We also have vehicles like Tata Tiago. So all these things I can propel the growth, and in this segment also, where vehicles are to some extent lacking in terms of affordability. And even startups should be encouraged, in my opinion.
All right. Let me go. Right. I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Deb. Let me go talk to Rajeev Chaba once again. Mr. Chaba, when it comes to electric vehicle sales, what kind of percentage and adoption are we likely to see in FY26? Where are we likely to reach in terms of EV penetration, according to you?
Yeah, so, last year, the industry in passenger vehicle segment, we were about 2.5%. This year, I think is going to be anywhere between 4 and 5%. Already we are seeing approximately 12 to 13,000 cars every month. So we would end up at 150,000 approximately, which means a growth of almost 50% over last year, which it depends how you look at it. Some guys were thinking probably it will double. So it's not doubling, but it's almost 50% growth. So, so growth, I would say, is pretty good. And by this rate, I think we'll end up at about 20-25% by 2030. So coming to one point which, one guest is offering, I would say in EV, the three things are important on the product side: the product, proportion of the car, and the pricing. And I think you need to get it right. So product, proportions, and pricing, if you get it right and you're in the sweet spot, the way MG Windsor has become at this point of time, I think you will see more adoption. Obviously, there are some other issues about education, battery life, and the charging thing. But I think this three P's, I think, need to be need to get right for more adoption, I guess.
Right. Let me go across to Nishant Arya once again. Nishant, what more do you think the government needs to do at this stage in order to support OEMs, both localize and find markets abroad?
I think ensuring that electric vehicles become an integral part of the free trade agreements being negotiated with different countries is very essential to gain scale and competitiveness. On the other hand, when the government has launched the R&D DLI, where they have put 1 lakh crores, I think a large chunk should go to EV industry and the EV ecosystem, where the huge investments should be made in India for proprietary IP and designs and engineering. Thirdly, there is a huge opportunity to see today that the kind of skilling challenges which we face in the industry because of dearth of people available, I think similar initiatives need to be taken where rapid skilling initiatives can be taken for people to really be available as per the growing markets. And fourthly, I think clear roadmap of deployment and mandates which can come for heritage sites, for tourist spots, and for many such areas which can be totally zero emission and green zones could be a big game changer going forward, where they are promoting Indian companies to deploy vehicles not only in India but promoting these concepts across the board.
All right, we've run out of time, but thank you very much, Rajeev Chaba, Anindya Deb, and Nishant Arya for joining us on the program, Charging Up India's EV Journey.